Resuming debate. Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Timiskaming. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased to speak today to Bill C-19, the abolition of the arms registry, of the firearms registry. We know that we need to prevent crime, but I am a hunter, and I want to talk about something that hasn't been talked about very much since the beginning of the debate. I hope that my Conservative colleagues will listen carefully. I know what I'm talking about because I am a hunter myself. I started hunting when I was 3. Obviously, I didn't have a real gun. My father made me a little wooden gun, and I went with him. I went partridge hunting, and I've continued to hunt. I have 5 firearms. I have 322s. I have a shotgun. I've hunted moose, partridge, and other animals. So I think I know what I'm talking about, and I can, therefore, discuss these issues. When hunters come to me and say, "Why do you support the firearms registry?" I say that it has to do with the theft of firearms, and I'll explain this. Before we had a firearms registry, sometimes people, maybe they needed money, but they went into houses, they broke in, and they stole firearms. And then there might be an ad in the paper with a firearm to sell, and if questions were asked, then the person might say, "Oh, I got this from my grandfather and I'm not really a hunter, so if you want to buy it, you can. I don't have the papers, I don't know too much about it." But it was very difficult to know whether this was the truth. The person seemed to be talking in good faith, know what he was talking about, and so maybe you would buy that. But in fact, there was no way to check. Since we have had the firearms registry, those who steal firearms and try to sell them, for example, through an ad in the paper, cannot sell them, because even if someone is interested in buying it, it looks like a good price and a good type of firearm, then the transfer cannot be done, because when you phone, you will find out that the registry indicates that the firearm has been stolen. Of course, the police are alerted, and they can come and pick up the stolen firearm. If somebody steals a firearm to go hunting with, there's always a risk that a peace officer will ask for the registration papers, which the person will not have. If verification is done, it will be clear that this is a stolen firearm. So this is a tool that we did not used to have. We need to understand that there are many firearms that have been handed down within a family. People have firearms that used to belong to a great-grandfather and then the grandfather and so on. So they're passed down from generation to generation. Even though they are not stolen, they might be similar but not exactly the same as something that an ancestor used, so it might be of interest. Clearly, the firearms registry cannot help if a firearm does not have special characteristics. But when we are talking about firearms from the 1960s, like a .22 with a wooden made of wood, then it'll be similar to another one. It is difficult to know if it is the same one or not, if it is not registered. The firearms registry has done a great deal to reduce theft. Hunters have paid for this data. This is why we don't want it destroyed. In Quebec, for example, we have a right to this data. The police use it. We know that the registry reduces theft. We have at least a chance of finding a stolen firearm.
But another thing I really want to emphasize is the value of guns, not just in terms of theft, as I was referring to, but some of these weapons really are worth an awful lot of money. These are tools that we use to hunt. We use them often. But if the gun registry is abolished and people start stealing them again, this is money we've invested in this sport, and it's an economic activity in Canada, and this is at risk. Personally, I have had a weapon that I invested a certain amount of money into, some $300 just for the sight as well, and so I would be really sad to have that stolen. And if there's no registry anywhere to help me find it, at least with the gun registry, the police officer could enter the serial number into the registry and see what's been stolen. So they could see, boom, in 2 seconds, oh yes, well, that one's been stolen. And I have a chance of getting it back. But without the gun registry, there's no chance that I'll ever get it back. It will be very complicated. So the person just has to say, if asked, oh, well, I lost the paper, it was in my truck, or, you know, I don't know where it is. Some kind of excuse as lame as that. So that is why I thought it was important to discuss this issue today. How much time do I have left, Mr. Speaker? 3 minutes? Okay. Mr. Speaker, because I have enough time, I'd also like to raise a final point. Some of you know this already. I am a nurse by training, and therefore I've worked in hospitals. I also come from a rural setting where there are many farmers, and we know that farmers have had a lot of blows dealt to them in terms of their business. There have been the economic crises, the mad cow disease issue, and all of this has really affected agriculture. There are a lot of issues that have been unstable for them, and the stress level's gone up significantly for farmers in this country. And because of that, of course, within this group, most of these people, by virtue of their work, have a weapon on the premises. They have guns. They have to be able to put a creature out of its misery if there's an accident on the farm, for example. These are normal kinds of activities that could, or things, occasions that could arise on a farm. So when we're talking about weapons in that context, people often talk about protecting people. So if a nurse, for example, sees someone who seems to be depressed, they know, or they would be able to see at least, rather, if this person has a gun at home and might be tempted to end their own life. Because guns are pitiless. We can't usually save people if they come to emergency after they've tried to take their own lives. So this tool can be used by doctors and nurses to see if the person has a weapon at home, and they could counsel them. They could, for example, suggest that if they would be prepared to take the gun to a police station and leave it there until they are better. But if we don't have access to that data bank, we can't do that kind of preventive work and stop irreparable damage from being caused. So that is another important point I wanted to raise. What I want currently to do is to ask the population for their support in this regard. I'm a hunter, and I really feel that the gun registry could help to prevent theft of weapons, and could help deal with petty theft where guns are stolen in homes. Without the registry, that can't happen. I paid for that data, and I would like that data at least be preserved if the federal government doesn't want to do so. So, rather, that they at least transfer it to the province of Quebec so that people like me can use it, and if things like that happen, that our weapons would be found. That's what I want to emphasize. I ask the people of this country to realize that my idea isn't that crazy and that maybe I'm right, and to send that message to all of their Conservative members who are standing up to pass this bill. Questions and comments?
Resuming debate.